Alright, we're back again. I'm here waiting on a train to drop a bunch of cars, and she's honking this damn air horn like crazy, so hopefully it doesn't come through too loud in this video when he does it. Alright, well, this video we're going to talk about the story arc to follow, something to fear, which is called What Comes After. Okay. Alright, hey, I get to go now. So, Something to Fear in the comics is issue 103 to 108, I believe. And the main focal point, or the main plot points of the arc are as follows. Jesus finding the location of the sanctuary, which is where Negan and the Saviors live, their main base. Carl stowing away, well, actually, the first shakedown of Alexandria. Carl stowing away in Negan's van and infiltrating the sanctuary. The introduction of Ezekiel and the kingdom. And gaining an inside man of the Saviors to help Rick and Ezekiel and the cause, to overthrow Negan, or to defeat Negan. Those are the main points. Now I think it's going to go down. Okay, so in issue 1, we're going to pretty much be a 90-minute premiere, I think. Finish up Something to Fear. And the guys are going to get back to Alexandria. Now, it's important for the next story arc that they find or discover the location of the sanctuary. So, there's a couple ways that could happen. Either the same time the lineup's going on and somebody's getting Lucille in the season finale, or the season 6 finale, there could be a separate attack by the Saviors on Alexandria, maybe led by Mark or a different Savior, and they're captured, and then Rick orders them to be released after they return, and then he tells Jesus, follow him, just like in the comic. Or, episode 2, Negan shows up, racking on the gate with Lucille. Little pig, let me in! And then they do the shakedown, and Carl stows away in their van. Well, he gets into it with Negan first, and Rick sends him away. Carl, in secret, nobody has any idea that he's doing this. Carl just up and disappears. He stows away in their van and catches a free ride back to the sanctuary. After their convoy leaves, or their caravan leaves, Rick tells Jesus, follow them. And that's how Jesus finds their location, just by tracking them back. So I think that's a likely scenario. Okay, when Carl gets to the sanctuary, somebody's going to spot him. And he's got Abraham's machine gun, and he's going to open fire. He's going to kill like 6 or 7 Saviors. And he's going to get captured. The machine gun's ultimately too big for him, too powerful for him, and he can't hold on to it, and it shoots its way right out of his grip, right out of his hands, and he misses Negan, and he gets captured. So, at this point, I think we're going to be we're still in episode 2, and I think episode 2 is going to end somewhere along the lines of Carl on his knees, singing You Are My Sunshine without his eye patch on, with his eye socket exposed, all gruesome looking, crying, and Negan walking around swinging Lucille like a lunatic off around him. I think that would be an awesome way to leave off episode 2. And then come back and then see, Negan's really not going to kill Carl. He's just trying to scare the shit out of him. And then he shows him around. The entire episode 2 is Negan showing Carl around their sanctuary, basically making him his guest. I mean, I think he calls him, if I remember right, he calls him his guest at some point. And we're going to meet a guy named Mark. We're going to meet Amber. We're going to see what happens when you break Negan's rules. Carl's going to watch Mark get his face burnt. We're going to see the way of life at the Savior's compound, at the sanctuary. We're going to see why they fear Negan, what happens if they break the rules, and then I think at some point, probably in the third episode, ultimately Negan's going to return Carl to Rick. They're going to get into a fight. Rick and Negan are going to get into a fight. And Negan's just going to, let it go. He's going to be, I get it. Your boy, because he likes Carl. Okay, he thinks Carl's badass with big balls, big steel balls, basically. So, and he knows realistically if he kills Carl or hurts him in any serious kind of way, he's never going to get a working relationship with Rick. And believe it or not, he wants that because Rick is, their group is good. And he knows they'd be valuable members of their team. And that's, I think, what his hopes are for the future is that Rick and them can see Negan's control and, be good little workers. So he lets everything slide and, like, yeah, you guys didn't know the rules, no big deal. So what? He killed 6 of my guys. It's really no big deal. He didn't know. He's a kid. I understand. Kids fly off the handle. He's a badass. I'm glad he's on my team, pretty much. So he lets it slide and they leave. I think the casting call for Ezekiel was for in the third episode. Now, I don't believe that's going to be the episode that we see Rick meeting Ezekiel. I think that's just going to be either the very end or possibly like the introduction to the third episode. We're going to catch back up with Morgan and Carol, and we're going to see Carol recovering in bed maybe, Morgan talking to Ezekiel, telling him about Rick and Alexandria, and I don't think it'll be very long, but just enough to let us know that Morgan and Carol are okay, and there's Ezekiel, and now they're going to go make the trip to get Rick. And then I think in the fourth episode is when Morgan's going to show up at Alexandria to get Rick, to bring him back to the Kingdom, which is a school in D.C. That's where the Kingdom is. So episode 4 is where we meet the Kingdom, where we meet Shiva, where we meet Ezekiel. Rick's gonna, find out that Ezekiel wants the same thing. He doesn't like being controlled by Negan. He doesn't like the shakedowns. He's willing to fight him, and they team up, come into an understanding, and then we get the bombshell of there's an informer, a member of the Saviors that's willing to betray Negan. And in the comic, it's Dwight. Now, I think they can't do Dwight in the show unless Daryl's the one that gets killed in the finale. As long as Daryl's alive, Dwight cannot be the informer. Daryl will not accept it. Daryl will not support it. Daryl's attitude, and you know as well as I do, Daryl's attitude, he wants Dwight dead and nothing else will do. If Rick tries to tell him to stand down against Dwight because he's an informer, Dwight's going to be like, hey, Rick, I'm going to go rogue. I'll follow his ass back and I'll kill him out of Alexandria. You're not going to stop me. I'm going to do it anyway. You know how Daryl gets. And they've set this up to be a rivalry. They can't make... I couldn't see Daryl letting that go. Oh, yeah, no problem. Sure. I got you. Hey, what's happening, Dwight? Let me shake your hand. No, none of that shit's going to happen. So, I think there's another person that has the same reason to betray Negan as Dwight does, and that's Mark. Mark is going to have his face burned, likely right in front of Carl, because of the same thing that happened with Dwight. And they can easily just give Mark the informer role that Dwight plays in the comic. And then Daryl and Dwight can have the rivalry, going back and forth through the entirety of All Out War and All Out War Part 2. And then ultimately we can see Daryl kill Dwight and assume control of the Saviors after the war is over. Wouldn't that be badass to watch Daryl lead the Saviors and eventually command the army? I mean, I don't know if maybe that's just a little too big for Daryl because they really haven't set him up as a leader. But I think it's possible. And, they're a biker group. He's a biker. So, I mean, he would fit right in. Even if he's not the leader, he would fit right in their group. Because they pretty much do what they want. Their hierarchy consists of do follow Negan's rules, but whatever the fuck. Do what you want. I don't even care. Just follow my goddamn rules. and do whatever the hell you want. So I think that's essentially going to be it in a nutshell. I think by episode 4, we're going to be done. By the end of episode 4, we should be ready to start March to War. Possibly into episode 5, depending on how much extra stuff they throw in there from, maybe like Carolyn Morgan, or possibly like Heath and Tara. Because I just still think they could potentially throw something like that in with Heath and Tara. But I don't know if it's necessary. Maybe they might do one episode. I don't know. I just think the way season 6 is, or was, I should say, I think they must come back and get right into this quickly. I don't think coming back to a slow, drawn-out story arc, and actually what comes after is not a slow story arc. I mean, it is an intense, fast-paced story arc, and to be honest with you, there's not much more than 3 or 4 episodes worth of content. I mean, unless they add a bunch of filler. Really, it doesn't take much time. Not much time goes by in the what comes after story arc. I mean, there's a lot of content, a lot of things happen, but they happen quickly. So, anyways, those are my thoughts. What I think is going to happen with the what comes after story arc. And tell me what you think. If you think I'm way off, if you think I'm on, or I'm close. I did one of these for Something to Fear, so you can search that. And I'm going to do another one shortly for March to War, and I'll probably continue to do them for every arc to come. And yeah, that's about it for today. So like, share, and hit that subscribe button, people. Hope you guys have a great day. What did one sheep herder say to the other? Let's get the flock out of here. Till my next video, I'm out.